Let's kick things off. My name's Aman. I'm on the product team here at Arize. We are back with another session in our Building an Agent and Agent Evaluation series. This time, I'm joined by some pretty amazing co-hosts. I'm really excited to get into their product as well. So I'll actually start with Nico. Nico, would you mind giving, or Nico, if you're ready to go, feel free to give an introduction, or Dennis, feel free to jump in as well. I know Nico might be handling a little bit on his audio. Dennis, do you
Yeah,
mind giving
sorry.
a quick intro? Yeah.
Yeah, sorry.
Okay.
Yeah, sure. I assume it was the introduction time. So
Yeah,
yeah,
exactly.
I missed that part. But yeah, okay. So I'm
Yeah.
Nico, working at Voiceflow with the growth team as well as the Tico team. Tico is our in-house assistant that we are using on multiple channels, and we will discover that a bit later during the presentation.
I'm Dennis. I lead the machine learning team here at Voiceflow, so building some of the core features within the platform and also working with some of our customers on the more advanced use cases.
Awesome. So just a quick run of the show for this one. So we're gonna do a quick recap on the previous series, on the previous episode here, and then we're gonna talk a little bit about how VoiceFlow actually, builds out agents and builds tools to actually help their users build agents. We'll talk about a tool that's in production today and how they went about building it, called Tico, and then we'll go and jump into a real live demo example that we'll be sharing out with a GitHub repo that you can try for yourself to actually build your own agent, modify it, observe it, and then run evals on it as well. So it's going to be an interactive demo. Feel free to drop any questions in the chat, and we'll be happy to take them at the end. And some of them we might even pick up in real time if they're relevant to what we're discussing. So we'd love to make this interactive. So yep, feel free to drop any questions. And just as a quick recap, in case you missed our previous session here, we actually walked through in our previous episode of our agent series. We actually walked through how we built our own agent at Arize, which we call a Copilot, and we talked through exactly how we built it, the components around the router system, and the various skills that the agent has access to actually not only understand what a user might be asking, but actually take action on the user's behalf within the platform as well. So if you missed that, Sarah will be dropping a link in the chat, and here's the link over here as well. So feel free to catch that. It's really interesting, just in terms of how we actually, some of the lessons we learned along the way of building out our own Copilot architecture from the ground up. Awesome. And with that, I'll hand it off to Dennis to introduce VoiceFlow.
Awesome. Can everybody hear me okay now?
Yeah.
Yeah, great. All right, so to get us started, I want to talk a little bit more about VoiceFlow. So we're a platform for building AI agents, and our general philosophy is to make sure that when you build agents, you're building them as a product, not just a quick implementation to do a demo of. So in order to enable that, we have a number of different systems that you can interact with, different models, tools, interfaces, data connectors, and so forth. And we support a number of different use cases for that. So if we keep going. So as a high level of what you'll see in the demo today, you'll be seeing the VoiceFlow UI, which is the VoiceFlow Creator application. And we also have a number of APIs that you can access as well. And we'll be using the VoiceFlow Builder to demonstrate how we built an AI agent. And once you do that, you'll see that we'll compile it into a runtime and interact with it with a web chat, but you can do it with any interface that you want. So this quick screenshot of an earlier version of Tico, you can see version 0.29, showcasing the VoiceFlow platform. If we keep going, you'll see that there are a number of different features, including a managed RAG system, which we call the knowledge base. So you don't have to do all your vector DB configurations, set all that up. We have different options there as well for import choices and chunking techniques. We also have the router built in with our LLM and NLU classifier. And if we keep going, we have a system for managing different forms of content. So you can see on the left-hand pane, there's different forms from workflows to functions, components, and so forth. So the whole idea here is you have all the tooling to build really powerful agents. And we also have a React Chat WebKit that we use that you can build custom interfaces on. Something as simple as a search bar to something as advanced as a seat picker, something that Nico built in a previous demo as well. Right. Yeah, and all of these components can be integrated and extended with Voiceflow functions. So basically, you can create a custom function, execute it within the runtime, which is pretty powerful if our existing blocks aren't enough. Now, to round it out, going back to our original point that we think that building AI agents is a team sport. So whether you're a data scientist or a developer, maybe even drop it in the channel, what part of an agent you're working on. We think that you need a platform that brings everybody together so you can ship as quickly as possible. So for example, with Nico and myself, Nico does a little bit of everything, but as a growth engineer, his role is a little bit different than my role as a ML engineer. So, okay, next slide. So a few examples. So Voiceflow is a platform you might have heard of other orchestrators as well. So you can build any use case you want. Here are 3 quick ones. So one of our customers built an AI automation, Voiceflow, using Voiceflow for customer support, getting 70% resolution. Then we have a lead gen use case from Sandlam, which is a revenue generating use case as their most efficient channel actually to get new customers. And then another one from Home Depot where they're doing prototyping with their IVR system and doing a lot more user testing that way. Next slide. So to wrap up the slides, we're going to get into demo now about Tico, which is our in-house AI agent. So Tico combines the names of 2 of our teammates, Tasim and Nico. Nico's on our call. So Nico's going to go through a demo of what Tico is and the different building blocks so you can see the platform in action.
Okay. Yeah, let's start with showcasing Tico on our main website. Let me share my screen. Here we go. So we are using Tico on different channels. Again, I'm going to do a brief demo on how it looks on the main website. We're also using it for emails, for example. So the supports. User can reach our support team over, again, different channels and from Tico itself, but also sending an email. But that email will be handled by another version of Tico that will try to help the user best they can. So here is on the website, you have the welcome message, and you can see you can already start interacting with the user. We do support buttons. We also support carousels, images, audio. Yeah, you choose. We've talked about some customers. This is the kind of example you can share as well. So that's something you can do in our Tico on the website. You have a direct link to the corresponding blog post as well. You see that based on the user interaction, we send another message. You can explore the product, more custom stories. So if I choose to explore the product, here we are using a mix of AI, but also MLU to redirect the user to different flows. If we want, we can also start doing a sort of a free-form conversation. What is interesting and what we've learned from the time is the user tend to interact with your chat, but not always to get specific information for the product. So in Voiceflow, you can also add moderation or just focus on a specific topic. So if I try talking and say how tall is the Eiffel Tower, for example, here in the tool or in the chat, let's do Eiffel. Oh, my bad. Okay. This is just to show how you can redirect the user to the right conversation and avoid spending too much token or too much time on querying an LLM model that might be costly for you. So yeah, again, I'm here to assist you on like very specific product, like in that case, Voiceflow. You can book a demo. You can, again, going back to that, learn more about the product flow. But again, you can do a free form. How can I, let's say, how can I add my my agent to my webpage? That can be one of the, that's a recurrent question we got from a visitor on the website. Just want to be sure that, okay, looks like Voiceflow is a fit, but is that just for prototyping, or can I do something, or can I set an agent live and use it on my own website? Yes, you can. And as you can see, this response has been generated using our knowledge base, but also LLM. And we'll see that after this quick demo. So yeah, the response is basically, yes, you can do that. You can have the quick launch way or the custom launch. And for each of those, you have a link to dedicated documentation. We can rate that, and we will see later on that that might be important. And we have a suggestion here. So again, LLM generated based on the previous conversation. We handle and we support memory during the conversation. So whenever the user asks something regarding a previous answer, we can get that context, and we are always aware, and we share that with the LLM. So that's how we are able to also generate those sort of suggestion and redirect the user, or so they can ask more questions. So how it works in Voiceflow. So Dennis shared with you some screenshot of the tool. How it works in terms of knowledge base. Let's start with that. So when we when you open a project on or an agent on Voiceflow, you will get access to the workflow. So those, you can think of this as different tasks or different spaces you want to redirect the user based on the conversation. In that case, we hit multiple of those, but mostly the KB search. So that's LLM part. And this one is important because that's why we wanted to integrate Tico with Phoenix, for example. For the main brain here, obviously, is the knowledge base. The knowledge base, and here you can see we have a bunch of sources in there. What we've done is we provide different APIs. Some of those allow you to create some automation to upload your document to the tool. So again, the easy way is just to add a data source. And here you can add URL, sitemap. You can upload a file, either it's a PDF, text, docs. Plain text is also working or an option, and Zendesk integration. So if you use Zendesk, you can link your Zendesk account and start fetching the documentation using the Zendesk API. What we are doing for Tico, we've created a custom integration. So meaning that on top of the existing option you have, the flexibility we provide with Voiceflow and those API allow you to build your own stack, your own integration. And here we are using README as our third-party tools to deal with the documentation. And we are fetching, each time we have an update, we are fetching new documentation and uploading that to the knowledge base. On top of this, you have multiple ways and multiple formats to store your document in the knowledge base. If you use an URL, for example, we provide a feature that is smart chunking. So we will convert the HTML raw data to a more readable markdown format for the LLM. That's one of the example, but you can also use the table format. Table format is more to have a structure syntax or document, you can upload to the KB, allowing you to do filtering, for example, using metadata or specific keys that you are passing. The table format is basically a JSON that will provide different properties for the document as well as the main content. So again, this will allow you to do more fine-tuned research or search and return the targeted chunks for your document. So that's it for the KB workthrough. What we will see here is if I switch back to the KB search, again, this is the flow where we are doing pretty much all the work as soon as you, the user, do not use a button or a specific action that we are handling with the NLU. We do a fallback to that specific flow, and we not only we search the KB, but we also have a bunch of different process here, and we use different third-party tools to do function or action such as doing a fallback, for example, for the LLM. Let's say because we allow our users to deal with multiple models or LLMs, as we can see here, if I use that response AI, so this is a step that will allow you to set a prompt and select a specific model for that prompt to get a response from that LLM. As you can see, we covered pretty much all the model from OpenAI, same from Anthropic, as well as Google with the Gemini 1.5 Pro. The goal here for Tico was to go a bit deeper and provide a sort of fallback solution. So if OpenAI is down, we will fall back to Anthropic, and this is what we are doing in some of those API steps here. We also do re-ranking, for example. So we are using, in that case, port key, which allow us to do analytics, but mainly to also do that fallback, can handle prompt caching, for example.
Tico, do you mind zooming in a little bit since you're talking about specific blocks?
Sure. Is that better?
Yep.
Okay. So actually, let's start from the beginning. That will be easier to read. So we start each time a user asks a question, we will start with this step that will send some analytics to our mix panel. And we are using a function here. So Denis share again a screen of different functions that are available. We do have a resource page on the website where you can import existing function, or you can build your own. In that case, we're using this mix panel function to save that data. We are also using long-term memory. So this is, we are using Zep for that, which is an open project to handle the memory. So we check if the existing user already has some memory. And from here, we will use a JavaScript step to basically extract the information we need from that memory. So not only the history, so we have a window of previous memory, but also a summary. So with those two, we are able to get the instant memory from the previous conversation, but also a more large memory that as a summary. We do some moderation. So moderation is built in Voiceflow. What we are using this one for a very specific use case in Tico. But yeah, just to let you know that that's part of the process, that's part of the flow. We are hitting the port key moderation to just flag the user or flag what generates that moderation. We reformulate the query. Yep, go ahead.
I was gonna say, once you wrap up this workflow, maybe you can show the web chat widget how you would publish to update.
Sorry, how to publish the website
Just the
widget?
web chat widget. So once you've built out all this business logic within the canvas, right?
Yeah,
You don't have to code your front end, right? You can just publish it automatically.
sure. Yeah. So once you've done or built this, and again, keep in mind that that's a lot to ingest. I assume that's, but this is a very advanced version of Tico, and we spend some time on this. Obviously, you will start with a more simple agent that we will demo after. But yeah, if you want to use this the same way we are using this on our website, you can go to the integration here. So not only you will get access to the API key, but also you can just get this snippet code that you will copy and paste on your web page to get your make your agent available for anyone on your website. And yeah, obviously you can customize this. We also have deeper customization, not only for those settings here, but you can also use your custom CSS, and you can also use extension. And yeah, we can talk about that that feedback extension we are using for the thumbs up, thumb down. But this is how you are you can add your Voiceflow agent to your website. So just like one click, copy paste, and you're ready to go. We also provide a live preview. So if I go back to my KB search, for example, or let's go to the welcome flow, I can run from anywhere. So any step, I can run my agent, but I can also preview it from here. Or I can also choose to test more deeply. So this is a preview of what your chat widget will look like on your website. But when you are designing your agent, you might want to also test it more deeply. And this is where you want to use the test tool. The test tool will allow you to also toggle some debug information, like token conception and some context, and as well as some variables. So if I toggle that on, you can see that all those variables will or might be populated when the user interacts with the agent, and you can that's how we handle variable in Voiceflow. It's basically you can use a variable anywhere, either it's a prompt or a message, sorry, or even a JavaScript code. You can use variable pretty much anywhere. So that's unless we have some question regarding this in the chat, I will switch to the agent. We're going to use.
One more question, Nico.
Yep.
Going back to the canvas, people had questions about the if block or the condition block now. I think we renamed it. Just if we can build those conditions. So there's under the logic step, right? Under the logic set of steps, you can build a bunch of different conditions. Maybe you can click on one of those. I think
Yeah.
drag one on the canvas.
Yeah, I can't find one right now, but I mean, I'm
Let's just
mainly
drag a new step. Yeah, so you can do things. You can do exact matches. You can do contains.
Yeah.
You can also write custom JavaScript. You need to build those out, right, with the conditions.
Yeah, the condition here. So in the logic on the sidebar, you have the condition, the set step, the component, and the end step. But what Dennis is talking about is this condition step where you can use the condition builder or expression, which is just a JavaScript script. The condition builder will allow you to again deal with the variable available in your project, in your agent. And I can, let's say, for example, if the booking reason is or is not greater contained, for example. And based on this, I will be able to redirect the user to that specific path. And I can link that to another block or create an action. Again, I can trigger an LLM response or create a message, for example. That's how easy and powerful those steps are. In the logic, you have also a set step. So this is simply to set a variable. Again, variables are pretty important in the project. So you want an easy way to set those variables. You can select the variable you want to use. You can change the user ID, either passing a value or using an expression. Again, this is JavaScript, so you can do that pretty easily. Regarding the JavaScript, you can also mix and use JavaScript step to basically do as well a condition in the JavaScript step. Here you can see that I have multiple paths in that JavaScript step, and I can choose to exit on the default, the LLM one, or if we have any error, I will hit the failed port. So again, pretty powerful, an easy way to run a JavaScript to redirect the user to a specific path.
Awesome.
Yeah, what we will use, and I will do the handoff after that. But what we will use for the Phoenix integration here is, again, we will pass some information using a JavaScript. So we will set a payload with some information, and as you can see here, the main information will be the prompt, so the system prompt, the user query, and the results that we've got from an LLM prompt or a request. We can also pass some metadata. So here I'm just saying that this is coming from the KV search flow, which is the flow I'm actually in. We're also passing a user ID and some tags. So after that, making a call to a custom instance that will send that log to my Phoenix instance that is also running locally. And to showcase that, I will basically switch to the project we are sharing with our Arize team. And this is the default template you will get whenever you create a new agent. And as you can see, you have already like a listening step that will basically trigger the knowledge base response. And in that knowledge base flow, which is way simpler than the Tico one, obviously, but this is a summary of what you can already build. And again, that will be part of any new agent you will create. So you will not be lost. You will always have those step and pre-build flow to look at. What we will be interested in that is that part. Like in Tico, we get a response, and then we will populate with that request or that API step. We'll make that request to our demo instance and send that to Phoenix. So ultimately, on our instance, we will be able to see those logs. And the ultimate goal for us will be to not only do this, but also run some eval and flag the correct answers, but also create data sets from those great answers or validated answers from our users to ultimately fine-tune a model with all those great answers to generate better answers, and closing that cycle, that loop, where we use user-generated feedback and human feedback, as well as evaluation in Phoenix, to then target and tag the LLM response we want to use to then fine-tune a new model. Yeah, that was the Voiceflow part.
Yeah, awesome. Thanks for covering that, Nico. That was, I feel like it's that, there's just nothing better than like seeing something in production actually get built and like see how, lifting like the hood of the car there to see like how everything is wired up. So appreciate the sort of, overview of how you guys shipped Tico. Maybe just to recap a little bit on how to build an agent with workflow. There's a ton of flexibility with Voiceflow to, define the task, the tools that you have within the canvas. A lot of flexibility to define those payloads. And then, really the next step here is really to observe and iterate on the agent. And so that's where Arize Phoenix comes in. And as Nico mentioned, he's using a self-hosted Phoenix instance since it's completely open source. So you can actually run a proxy through to actually send in your traces. And maybe just to like zoom out for a second and see how this, see the connection points here. Phoenix allows you to, using open source tools, Open Inference, which is also open source package for, being able to define the traces themselves. You can then send in with a couple lines of code there directly even from Voiceflow with pretty simple code to actually run traces to send traces to that self-hosted Phoenix open source product so you can host it yourself as well. And then we do also offer a free SaaS sort of hosted version of Phoenix if you don't want to manage the self-hosting yourself. And you can directly sign up for Phoenix on the homepage, phoenix.arize.com. Great. So with that, I'm going to hop into a little live demo of our own, sort of hosted Tico that Nico was showing earlier, a simplified version of it, not exactly the same, but that has access to the knowledge base. And we're going to actually, kind of go through a simple demo of what you can build with Voiceflow and how that, how tracing works with that. So with that, let me hop in here. So this is and Nico, Dennis, feel free to hop in wherever if there's any kind of double click points here on how things work. So I'm actually, this is actually our own sort of demo agent that Nico was showing earlier that we'll kind of get into the workflow of. But here I can actually ask questions for things like, tell me about Voiceflow. How can it help me? So this is actually using the same sort of workflow that Nico had up and that is in the GitHub repo. So you can actually spin this up yourself and host it yourself as well, and actually try this out for yourself. So you can hook it up to any sort of knowledge base you want, and then actually have a self-hosted chatbot with all of the components configurable, all of the tools available as well. So it looks like this is a pretty reasonable answer. So it kind of gives me an overview of what is Voiceflow, vector database, how can Voiceflow help you? This is great. I think this is super helpful. But maybe I might say like, can you give me, maybe I'll say something like, what is Voiceflow good at? And get a response from there as well. And so this is, again, using all of the knowledge base and kind of generating a pretty great overview. I might give that one a thumbs up. And here, okay, it looks like there's a lot of really great points here, but maybe if I'm the designer of this agent, I might actually say, you know what, I want to log this, for me to go back and improve on. Perhaps I want this to be more succinct or be a little bit less verbose, which sometimes LLMs, they produce a lot of text. They want to, they're sort of like self-referencing in the context, and that can lead to kind of longer responses that you might want to go and flag to improve on. So here, pretty simply, Voiceflow allows you to kind of define things like human feedback. I might give this one a thumbs down just for me to go take a look at. Well, all of those question and answers actually were being logged directly to Phoenix. So you can actually see in real time the two queries I just asked showing up in my own in sort of this hosted Phoenix that is connected to the Voiceflow demo. So I can go in here and see what is my system prompt, the content that's being sent, the question, and basically all of the knowledge base, chunks that were sent as well. And then the question, tell me about Voiceflow, how can it help me? The feedback here, and then the response from the agent. What Phoenix allows you to do is actually log all of those traces and then kind of, allows you to analyze those, that data in real time. So I could actually say, okay, find me all of the examples where my, the thumbs down was actually the response. See what other people were saying here. Okay. So if I look at this, it looks like we have a couple evals that we've run already. So so this is sort of some of our test data from before. And I even have some evals around hallucination and verbosity as well, verbosity. So the way that we actually generated those scores is using LLM as a judge. And if I go in, this is actually, I'll actually drop a quick link to our quick start here in the chat. But if you're looking to actually get started with LLM evals, Phoenix is a great place to start there. It actually runs on exactly the same data that you see here. You don't have to do a ton of data manipulation to just run evals. And I've got a notebook set up here with some keys where I actually am looking to maybe evaluate verbosity using an LLM as a judge. There's other things you can evaluate for as well, like hallucination for the knowledge base. But for now, maybe just for in the interest of time, I'm going to run a pretty simple eval where I'm going to pull down the data. So let me actually do that step here. Get all of my spans from my demo. So that's actually, this call allows me to pull down a data frame of my data. And then actually from here, I'm going to, run basically mapping the response to the output value. I have my verbosity prompt, which is going to be used and the LLM as a judge, and then define that here and run this as a function to actually run, basically seeing the response that my LLM is giving verbose or not. We're going to let that run for just a sec. And in the meantime, I'm going to actually hop over. So it's actually going to run on all of the spans. I could have filtered it down to just run on the last one. But here I'm going to actually hop into Voiceflow and in real time actually go in and maybe confirm. And I see Nico's in there too, which is really cool. You got multiplayer mode here. And so I'm actually going to go in and adjust the prompt in real time. So here I can actually look at the step where the response is being crafted. I can look at the memory and the prompt, and then the system prompt as well. So here I might say, I might want to add something like, keep your answers brief. Respond with only 3 sentences max. Just to sort of maybe make the answers more concise. Test it out, see how it runs in production. So with that, I can actually run this and run a test. And now I have Voiceflow running that compiling the prompt and the entire system, the workflow you just saw. This is the updated version. Let's see if this works. Can you tell me about Voiceflow? Okay, moment of truth. Let's see what happens. Okay, that looks like a much shorter response than what we saw before. It looks to be exactly 3 sentences as well. So you can see that, adjusting the prompt in real time, basically rerunning the query, I can actually go into here and see, okay, that's great. And then if I hop over back to Phoenix, remove the filter here, you'll see that actually gets logged from that same test instance back to Phoenix here. And then what I can do is actually rerun my evals, basically take a look at the previous example here. Oh, actually, should have run this. Let's let this run for a second, then we'll actually post the evals back up to Phoenix in just a moment. But here, yep, so I can actually go and adjust the prompt. I can even give access to different tools. So, this is sort of like a high-level example of adjusting a system prompt. Pretty straightforward there. But if I wanted to test, is Tico or my workflow actually utilizing the right tools or taking data from the tools and actually generating the right response, I could evaluate the actual data that's being returned or the tool usage using evals as well. So Phoenix gives you a ton of flexibility in defining what types of evals to run. You can use LLM as a judge to actually evaluate, was the right tool called, and was the data being used effectively as well. Great, so now those evals have run. Let's go ahead and post those back up to Phoenix. Hop over with this, just kind of 2 lines of code here. So that should have posted the latest. Oh, I didn't pull down the latest data there. Let me go ahead and do that just from the very top here. Run that one more time. So now it should be 41. Okay, so now it should run the last example. But if I go back to here, I can actually see that the previous examples that were pretty long, it did look like the LLM as a judge kind of gauged that this was verbose, which makes sense. I think like, pretty long answers there as well. Let's give this another second. And of course, you can make this more efficient and only run on like the data that recently came in as well if you want to. Models can be completely swapped out, and so can the prompt. Welcome to define the prompt in plain text. Okay, let's post this back up. Moment of truth. Great. Okay, we actually saw what we're looking for here. So we changed the system prompt. It kind of looked good, and then you can actually verify that with LLM as a judge. Sort of tying this all together, you can actually run this in a pipeline or a workflow, run as an automated job to actually go in and continuously eval the changes that you're making. Of course, you can also save off to a data set if you want to do things like running an experiment as you're A/B testing the prompt as well on a fixed set of data. So really useful to be able to filter down and use evals to kind of find examples to go and improve on overall. Awesome.
I guess, Simon, there's a question about real-time evals as well. So maybe you can comment a little bit more
Oh, yeah.
about it.
Let me take a look at the comments really quick. Okay, let me see in the Q&A. Yeah, can I add the evals in Phoenix and apply to the traces in real time instead of performing evals as a part of the inference for latency purposes? Yeah, so I would say that might be classified as running. If I'm going to interpret the real-time component to that question as like running evals as the trace is generated. You could set up a system that has an application that listens for traces to Phoenix and actually evals on the fly. We do have some code examples in our docs to help with that as well, sort of an online task as a job, as a container. And then if you use Arize as well, Arize does also offer online tasks managed for you. So both are options. One is sort of like a self-managed online task container that you would want to run or a job that you want to run. And we have some code examples in the Phoenix docs for that. Or you can use the Arize platform and we'll manage that online eval for you. Great. So that's sort of covering how to build an agent from start to finish, how to get an agent actually into production from some awesome co-hosts here, panelists here with Nico and Dennis. Thanks for sharing those pretty amazing insights on how Voiceflow works, how you guys have done that in production, and then tying that all together with observability and evals. Any more questions that we can answer for folks in the last couple of minutes here? And then feel free to scan either the QR codes or go to the links to actually try out Voiceflow yourself. And then, of course, connect it to Phoenix for observability.
So I think the first question is for you, Aman, in terms of converting data from MySQL DB that has joins. Is this related for evaluations, Raquel, or is that what's the use case there?
Yeah, and something's going on with my Zoomer. It's tough for me to even find that question that came in.
We can go back to that one after. Question about having my VF in a web app for logged in users. I'd like to capture the data through web cookies. How can that be done? Nico, I think that's a great question for you. Want to answer that
one? Sorry, can you repeat the question regarding
so
what
for
cookie?
logged in users using cookies to capture user information?
I will not use cookies unless that's the only way they are collecting user data. But with cookie, they can add some JavaScript code into the snippet we've shared, we showed during the demo, and choose to pass those cookies value as variable. So when you interact with the DM API or in the chat widget allow you to use an interact endpoint. You can pass variable, you can pass data. So yeah, definitely if you want to fetch cookies, you can do this using JavaScript and pass the value to your agent. or you can not, without using cookie, you can just pass those value you get from a DB, or after a specific authentication, you can make an API call, whatever. I will recommend to do this within your agent instead. So you collect a user ID, for example. This is what we are passing in Voiceflow. So you always have a user ID. As soon as you get that user ID, you can start using it to interact with an external DB or your own DB to link that to an existing user and retrieve the information. But yeah, again, you can use cookie, you can use API call to a DB, you can use a lot of ways to do that.
That's super cool. That's awesome. I love the level of flexibility in Voiceflow there. So Raquel, I see the question now. So around joining back data that exists in your database already, we do allow you to. We're super flexible in terms of defining attributes using Phoenix. So please feel free to ask the question in our Slack community. I'll send that over. But the short answer is we do treat your as long as your data conforms to what we would expect from OTel, then it should be no problem to visualize that in Phoenix. So and then we can get into the specifics of your code as you ask that question. I'll drop a link into the channel. And then there was a question around is there documentation to integrate or send Voiceflow traces to Phoenix? I would recommend using the GitHub repo that Nico's put together here. And so we'll drop a link to that as well with a real example of spinning up Voiceflow yourself and then connecting that back to Phoenix.
And to add on this, the actual code will allow you to do what we've showcased today, but we've already added another endpoint that will allow you to use the chat widget, so the snippet code. In that snippet code, you can swap the main URL and use that Phoenix integration as a proxy. So basically, every request the user are sending into the chat widget, we will extract the user input, and from the DM API, we will get the response, the LLM response. So not only you will be able to get access to the prompt, the user query, and the answer, but also details regarding token usage, for example, or deeper information and span for the knowledge base, for example. That's not something that was covered in the demo, but just to let you know that's another option as well. Because yeah, as we said, we love flexibility here. So yeah. And another thing you haven't showcased, but I will use that a lot, is that when you select or add span to or trace to a data set, you have a handy exports to JSON-L that I'm using to fine-tune models. So that's a great thing in Phoenix. Love it.
Yeah, that's awesome to hear. And I saw like in the post that you made that that there's you guys are using Phoenix in production to monitor Tico, which is super cool to see. So would love any feedback there from your team as you continue on this journey.
Yes, definitely. We didn't show that in the demo for privacy reasons, but yes, indeed, we've already started to use Phoenix on some of our Tico live agents. Yes.
Very cool. Awesome. Well, I think that's a great way to wrap this one. Really enjoyed this one, Dennis and Nico. Thanks for taking the time out to show a little bit around Voiceflow and how these amazing tools can work together. Really appreciate your time, and thanks everyone for joining. If you enjoyed this, we're gonna keep putting out more sort of eval webinars and really kind of centering around practical examples for building agents, getting agents to production. If you have any ideas for topics you'd like covered, please feel free to drop them in the Slack community as well. We love the feedback on how useful this might be or how to make this more useful for all of you. But again, thanks for joining. I appreciate all of your time, and yeah, really enjoyed this.
Thanks for the invitation. And
Yeah.
can't wait to play a bit more with Phoenix.
Amazing. Thanks.